Over the past couple of weeks, there's been a huge uprising in many parts of Ethiopia against the TPLF regime. The majority of the uprisings being in the Amhara region and the Oromo region. The Oromo protests have been going on since November 2015, where hundreds of ethnic Oromos have been murdered in cold blood by the regime, and thousands more detained. The roaring Amhara revolts have been going on since July 2016. Besides the serious human rights violations and the marginalization of ethnic Oromos, for decades, one of the triggers for the Grand Oromo protests is the regime's expansion and extensive land grab policies, where the regime set out to displace ethnic Oromos from their land and towns, in order to integrate them into the regime's Addis Ababa Master Plan. Protests against the Addis Ababa Master Plan had been going on for years. In May 2014, several Oromo students were killed. An eyewitness told the BBC that 47 were killed by security forces loyal to the TPLF regime.
I've been receiving some calls from people saying that a number of students were killed, were shot dead, and others wounded in the town of Ambo by members of the security services.
After years of protest and the killings of hundreds of Oromos, the TPLF regime was forced to abandon its Addis Ababa Master Plan. That, however, did not stop the persecution, inequality and marginalization of ethnic Oromos, which has resulted in continued protests throughout the Oromo region. Again, one of the main reasons for the Amhara revolts is the TPLF regime's expansionist and land grab policies. The people of Welkate and Tegat, who are predominantly Amhara and speak Amharic, have been forced to be administered under the Tigray regional state, after their territory had been forcefully annexed by the TPLF regime. For those who don't know, the TPLF stands for Tigray People's Liberation Front. It's the ethnocentric minority group, which has been ruling Ethiopia since 1991, within the coalition of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front. In 1976 or 1968 in Gia's calendar, the TPLF published a manifesto. In this manifesto, the TPLF defines who a Tigrayan is and where the geographical boundaries of Tigray lay. The manifesto states that a Tigrayan is defined as anybody that speaks the language of Tigrigna, including those who live outside Tigray, the Kanamas, the Sehos, the Afar, and the Total, the Aju, and the Welkate. When it comes to where the border of Tigray lays, the manifesto states that the geographic boundaries of Tigray extend to the borders of the Sudan, including the lands of Humera and Welkate. As stated in this manifesto, Welkate, as well as Humera, were annexed into the Tigray regional state by the TPLF regime after it gained power in 1991, and is the main reason for the uproar and uprising of Amharas today. Amongst claiming other parts of Ethiopia into their illegal Tigray boundary, the manifesto goes on to claim the Eritrean Kanama, the Seho and Afar lands, including Assab, which some 20 years later would be the main cause of the Eritrea-Ethiopia 1998-2000 so-called border war, when the TPLF regime tried to implement its 1976 manifesto regarding Eritrean lands. The 1976 manifesto states that the final goal of the TPLF is to secede from Ethiopia as an independent republic of Greater Tigray by liberating the lands and peoples of Tigray. An HO expert, who managed to get a hold of the manifesto, described the TPLF as deranged, greedy animals who claim anything their thieving eyes lay upon.
My leaf? This is mine. There's some other, there's a rock, that's mud. That's just mud. There's a rock. That's my rock. Nobody touches my rock. There's another rock. 2 rocks. 3 rocks. Peace rock.
I like this stick.
Seriously, that's my stick.
No, I want my stick.
It's a water truce.
The TPLF was armed and trained by Eritrea's formidable front, the EPLF. Eritrean People's Liberation Front. Despite the TPLF's hidden agenda and backstabbing nature, the forward-thinking EPLF chose to help the TPLF in all fields, from arming and training them, to taking them all the way to the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and helping them gain power in 1991. Despite some Ethiopians' misconception of Eritrea, due to years of lies propagated by the pathological liars TPLF, of portraying Eritrea as the big bad wolf, out to destroy Ethiopia. The EPLF was always for a united Ethiopia, and is the one who constantly reminded and advised the narrow-minded TPLF to focus on the unity of Ethiopia and discouraged secession.
ናይ ህዝቢ ኦሮሞ ጉዳይ ናይ ህዝቢ ሶማል ጉዳይ ናይ ህዝቢ ዓፋር ጉዳይ ናይ ካልኦት ተፈላለዩ ንኣሽቱ ዝበሃሉ ብሄራት ሕቶ ናይ ኣምሓራ ሕቶ ናይ ትግራይ ሕቶ ብኸመይ እዮም ክፍትሑ ናብ ዝብል ጉዳይ ወይ ሕቶ ኣርእስቲ እንተኣቲና ብመጀመርያ እዘን ሓይልታት እዚኣተን እናታተን ሕጋዊ ትካላት ወይ ባይቶታት ኣቆይመን ነዚ ናይ ሓድነት ዝበሃል ኣርእስቲ ብሕጋዊ መንገዲ ክምልሾ ይኽእል ኣሎ ንፃል ክተባባዕ የብሉን ብዝያዳ እቲ ክተባብዓን ክድፋኣሉን ዘለዎ ሓድነት ግን ኢምፖዝ ክገብሮ ይትኽእልና ሓድነት ብድሌት ከም ዝረጋገፅ ክስራሓሉ ክኽእል ኣሎ ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ እዚ ሓድነት እዚ ብሕጋዊ መንገዲ እንተደኣ ተረጋጊፁ እዘን ናይ ገዛ ርእሰን ሕጋዊ ፖለቲካዊ ትካላት ዝምስረታ ሓይልታት ከመይ ገረን ክሻረኻ ከመይ ገረን ኣብ ውሽጢ ሓድነት ክሰርሓ ዘቆምኦ ናይ ፖለቲካ ስርዓታት ወይ ስርዓት እንታይ ይኸውን ኣብ ነንበይኖም ኣከባቢታት ዝህሉ ስልጣናት ብኸመይ ምስ ማእከላይ ኩላቶም ተሰማምዕሉ ስርዓት ክዛመድ ይኽእል እዚኦም ከምዚኦም ዝኣመሰሉ ዝርዝራት ቅድም ቀዳድም ግን ዝኽረጋገፅ ይኽእል ኣሎ እዚ ምስ ተረጋገፀ ናብቲ ብስኒትን ብድሌትን ዝነብሩሉ ሃገርን ናይ ፖለቲካ ሃዋህውን ከመይ ገይሮም ከም ዝኣቱ ዝርዝራቱ ክሕሰበሉ ይከኣል።
One of the first things the TPLF did after consolidating power in Ethiopia, they made sure Article 39 was included in the new constitution. Article 39 of the Ethiopian constitution states that every nation, nationality and people in Ethiopia has an unconditional right to self-determination, including the right to secession. The answer to why this article was included in the constitution should be quite obvious to all by now. In 1997, after accumulating enough wealth and manpower from Ethiopia, the TPLF felt it can now try implement its 1976 manifesto in regards to the Eritrean lands it unilaterally claimed for themselves. The TPLF issued a new Tigray map in 1997, which illegally incorporated large swaths of Eritrean land. The criminal TPLF then went about to establish facts on the ground by evicting Eritreans from their homes and dismantling Eritrean administrations around the border and Bagme areas. Eritrea did not take any countermeasures or offer ultimatums to the invading forces, despite its sovereignty being violated. Eritrea chose to deal with the issue quietly, given the warm relations the two countries had. And given the fact that the Eritrea-Ethiopia border has always been clearly defined by internationally recognized treaties, it was Eritrea's belief that this border issue can easily be resolved peacefully. The Eritrean president wrote letters to the then Ethiopian Prime Minister, Meles Zenawi, about the incursions. Nonetheless, the violation of Eritrean sovereignty continued into 1998, when TPLF forces went deep inside Eritrea and attacked Eritrean military personnel on the 6th of May 1998, which triggered a chain of reaction. The TPLF regime then declared war on Eritrea on the 13th of May 1998 through the Ethiopian parliament, claiming that it was invaded. The land that it claims to have been invaded was in fact the Eritrean lands it had initially invaded between 1997 to 1998. It's the Eritrean lands it had illegally incorporated into the new Tigray map, including the flashpoint of the manufactured border war, the Eritrean town, Badme. In stark contrast to the Ethiopian approach, Eritrea responsibly strove to defuse the situation and pave the way for a peaceful, lasting solution. It called for the renunciation of the use of force. It also proposed the demilitarization of the entire border, and the demarcation of the border by a third party on the basis of the internationally recognized treaties that established the boundary. But obviously the narrow-minded TPLF regime did not care about the internationally recognized treaties. All it cared about was the imaginary lines and boundaries it had drawn itself onto the illegal Tigray map. The TPLF went on with its invasion and war effort, where it ended up losing 120,000 plus of its troops. Most of these Ethiopians that died were Amharas and Oromos, who were used as cannon fodder and sacrificial lambs by the heartless TPLF, in its goal to fulfill its 1976 manifesto of becoming an independent nation with a Red Sea outlet. Many outside observers and witnesses were horrified and dumbfounded by the moronic strategy of sending thousands and thousands of waves of Ethiopians to well-defended Eritrean positions.
Well, the impression one gets is that some not very intelligent commanders on the Ethiopian side sent lots of infantry against an untakeable hilltop and lost many lives in the process. Also, it seems that when you look at the corpses, they don't seem to be from Tigray. So I get the impression they're using other people from the south maybe as cannon fodder.
My name is Ferdinando Pellegrini. I work for Italian radio.
Can you tell me about today?
Well, I don't know how many days they have been fighting here, but so many people died. And I suppose that this position is quite impossible to catch, you know. That's why I'm trying to take Adikwala, because, you know, the road from Adikwala to Mendefer is short. But if you resist here, they never will arrive there. So what they thought is wrong.
After losing tens of thousands of its troops and a lot of resources, and after failing to achieve any of its major goals, which was to either capture Asmara, remove the Eritrean government, or capture the Eritrean port Assab, the TPLF regime had no option but to sign the peace agreement in 2000. 2 years later, a final and binding verdict was given by the Eritrea-Ethiopia Boundary Commission, which confirmed that the flashpoint of the border war, the town of Badme, belonged to Eritrea. As always, the pathological liars extraordinarily tried to deceive its people and the whole world, as it had been doing from the beginning of the war, by claiming that the Boundary Commission awarded Badme to Ethiopia. The most brazen lie that only a pathological liar can come up with.
Of the Boundary Commission's decision clearly stipulate that sanity has won over insanity. The rule of law has prevailed over the rule of jungle. This decision has rejected any attempt by Eritrea to get reward for its aggression. This decision was fair and legal. Badme and its surroundings, which Eritrea invaded and occupied May 1998, on the basis of its false claims, has now been decided by the Commission that Badme and its surroundings belong to Ethiopia.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop you fucking lying.
Most Ethiopians have become aware of the lying, corrupt, criminal nature of the TPLF, and frankly they had enough, hence why the uprisings all over Ethiopia against the Western-backed puppet regime. The TPLF is reaping all the evil it has sown in the past 25 years. And it's not hard to see how things will end for them down the line. If you're looking for the truth, subscribe and stay tuned for more.
فتاو حقي